So, hello everyone, welcome to a Kyte Perspective. It's one of our first events for this year and it's already June, so my gosh, where has the time gone? Today we talk about the latest Fusion 25B service upgrades. We talk a little bit about managed services and the key aspects to consider for managed services. And then we also hear from Rajesh, our guest speaker, around automated testing and AI in testing. But before we kick it off, I wanted to quickly introduce the people with me here in the room. So I'm just going to go over here on my right. We have Kathleen.
Hello, my name is Kathleen. I'm an intern at Kyte Consulting. I'm here almost 2 months. Right now, I'm exposed to some HCM cases, specifically to the BI publisher, some data loader, something like that. Thank you for everyone.
Thank you, Kathleen, for joining us. We have Radha here on my left.
Hi, I'm Radha, CX Solution Architect.
Thank you, Radha. And Alf.
Hi, everyone. Alfred Martin here. I look after all things CX, Fusion Service, Field Service. Yeah, that's me.
Thank you, guys. And Karina, I'm going to very quickly hand over to you for an introduction in the room.
Thank you, Anita. I am Karina Kanapka. I'm the Managed Services Lead with Kyte. I'm going to be doing the presenting today on a few different topics. Next to me, we have Rajesh.
Hey, everyone. I'm Rajesh Krishnan. I'm from AssureQA. We do test automation, and we are partnered with Kyte to look after HCM, ERP Cloud, and EPM.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. We've got Kevin also in the room.
G'day, Kev Stevens, Senior CX Consultant with Kyte Consulting, working on all things CX. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we've got Lisa with Tapcore.
Hello.
Who's been kind enough to join us.
I have.
Okay. Fantastic. She's one of our clients. So thank you very much, Anita. I think that's everybody here. Swati had to leave for a minute, but will, I think, join us in a bit, perhaps on the phone.
Sounds good. And before we kick it off, I just wanted to say we also have quite an interesting audience online today. So everyone who's following us on LinkedIn, there's a comments field at the bottom. So any questions, just plonk them in there. We can either answer it here in the room because I see the comments, or otherwise one of my team is going to answer it directly in the chat field. And I think from the registries, we also have attendees from Murdoch University, from Charles Darwin University. I think Ipswich City Council is attending, Whitehorse City Council is attending, Transurban, I think, is joining us. So there's quite a good audience. So any questions, please fire them off. And with that, I'm handing over to you, Karina. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Anita. Let me go ahead and put my PowerPoint here. Presentation.
You're looking at the forward button with sharing all the various screens.
I know.
That's all right. So this session, while you're getting ready, is going to run for an hour. We don't have, I guess, a full hour of content. So the last 10-15 minutes are there to discuss any questions you may have, specifically some of those exciting updates which are coming in from the regular Fusion upgrades, which we're going to give a short overview on it, but it's not comprehensive and probably doesn't give it justice with the full, with the full context of upgrades with all the products. Karina, we can see your presenter mode. I think this will work if you reduce the comments a bit.
No, I had the comments previously.
So I think one of the major upgrades this round one is what we're hearing from the market is a lot of organizations are getting ready with the Redwood upgrade. The timelines are coming for everyone to be mandated on the Redwood upgrade, and we know a lot of customers are in the midst of it at the moment. And a lot of the quarterly upgrades are about, the new improved user interfaces and the new improved functionalities, which, every time I'm seeing them, there's a lot of, I really love seeing them because they're getting the same across all the products of Oracle. And I think as a user, it's getting really easier to navigate around. And it doesn't matter whether you are in CX or HCM or ERP, sort of the native functions of the solutions are really in sync across all the different applications. So Karina, you're back on, which is good.
I'm back on.
Officially.
My apologies. A little bit of difficulty here with my MacBook, but here's the agenda for today. We're going to talk about the 25B Fusion upgrades and highlights. Talk a little bit about upgrade management best practices, what you need to focus on when you're adding these enhancements into test and production, as well as I'll hand it over to Rajesh, who will talk a bit about the QA process and automated testing. Okay. First of all, we'll talk about Fusion sales and go through some of the enhancements that we're seeing in 25B for sales. The first one on the Redwood and core features is we'll talk about the digital customer service and enhancements. The let's see, there we go. AI prioritized search results. This is where DCS administrators can configure the portal to display AI generated search results first, thus reducing the time users spend navigating through multiple articles, going back and forth trying to find the answers for their service queries. So this is, I think, the first of many different AI features that Oracle is introducing. So you'll see these throughout a lot of these updates. The next one is embedded Fusion interviews. This is knowledge articles that support embedded Fusion interviews. It's a lightweight question and answer flow tool that's a lot like Oracle Intelligent Advisor. This enables troubleshooting flows within articles, therefore improving self-service resolution for the customers themselves. The next is agent. Let me get back one. Well, the next is agent assistant selecting smart texts. These are agents presented with smart text messages options based on the chat transcript content itself. So basically, they're automatically presented. The agent is automatically presented with a snippet that can include variables, images, and HTML, on the screen that they can then copy and paste in responses. So that, again, is reducing that search time and typing keystroke search time. Next, we've got, so users can update, cancel, or resubmit field service work orders directly within the Service Center console, even after completion or if errors occurs. This will eliminate the need for users to open several browser tabs, again, enhancing that efficiency. Customize. There we go. Customizable menu actions. Teams can add or rearrange menu actions to prioritize frequently used functions. So, when you, again, increasing efficiency. So if you use something frequently, you can put that first. For the Redwood user enhancements, we've got a continued rollout of different enhancements. features like elastic search and customizable validations via the Visual Builder Studio. This aligns basically with Redwood's broader transition timeline. There's a lot of different things that are being rolled out. Again, you'll see that across sales, service, and HCM.
Just to add, Karina, one of the things that I've noticed is that they've opened up in this release, they've opened up more to be able to be accessed through Redwood and BDCS. So you're kind of limited by what they let you play with in this release. They've opened more.
Can you guys hear him? Can you hear Kevin?
Yes.
Okay, good. Good.
So that, yeah, there's more that you can do now with this release than you could previously with BDCS.
Fantastic. Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and there's also, I may also add to that, so one of the really cool functions around Fusion Service is sort of the service or summary requests. So AI is now summarizing the whole customer record up into an executive summary. So, if, for example, if you have an inbound call or you need to quickly get an overview about a specific person or incident, you have the executive summary, which basically, collates everything. And also sort of typical chat GPT functions of, email summaries or service requests, automated generated texts based on the background is also sort of non-native functions of Fusion Service. So things are getting easier, which is great. Fantastic.
Yeah, more things just right in your line of vision, and that summary really helps to you to be able to respond faster.
Yeah, and for businesses, I might add, it's really important, as AI, the question is not anymore whether to use AI or not, but how well is AI regulated? So using, product native AI, for example, on the Fusion platform, it means organizations can keep their data within their platform, versus if you ask an external facing AI tool, you share your question and therefore maybe confidential information with the world, right? So having those tools embedded versus using external platforms should be a serious consideration for a lot of businesses.
Definitely.
Sorry, Karina, back to you.
That's okay. No, good, good stuff. The last thing here is email link options. So users can choose whether email links open in Redwood or Classic UI. So those who haven't moved over to Redwood can still utilize Classic. Okay. Actually, there we go. Fusion sales. So, and this one we'll talk about Redwood and core features first. So navigate to external links from the CX navigation bar. This allows you to add external links directly within CX sales. It allows you to add both dynamic and static URL menu items, allowing you to based on criteria, maybe users' ability or users' role to access that link. It must be defined within the menu group, however, and for that navigation bar, only the first 8 menu items are displayed. Just a caveat there. Next, change message template tone and correct grammar. Again, another AI tool. Using the writing assistance from within the message templates, users can utilize AI to change their tone of the message from casual to professional, or I'm sure everybody is doing this with ChatGPT and other areas of your either business or personal life by formatting your communications, putting them into bullets or checking grammar, that sort of thing. So I think everybody's familiar with that sort of capability. Deploy sales AI agents using RAG tools. AI agents can now be created to get insights from different PDF documents using a retrieval augmented generate tool. So these documents are added into the tool which is something that the agent itself can use, and the tools then assigned to that agent. When it's invoked via a smart agent, users can ask questions and get responses from the AI agents on that documentation itself. So they don't have to go through again and review the whole document. Send mass emails from Oracle Sales. So you can send emails to multiple leads across different accounts, up to 10 customers simultaneously, personalizing those emails and also being able to track interactions. Okay. You can, for enterprise contacts, you can extract key terms from contract documents using generative AI. So now for faster and more accurate responses, you've got key terms like maybe payment terms, renewal dates, things like that that the administrator defines. You can then use a prompt definition to be able to automatically pull out that sort of information, which I know looking at contracts is is certainly a lengthy process, and to be able to pull out those key bits instead of going through the whole document is a lifesaver. Next, classify contract key terms. So you can classify or categorize key terms according to your custom business rules. This classification provides a quick overview for key terms, allowing you to identify those things that require attention. It helps risk mitigation by highlighting potential issues, drawing attention to non-standard clauses that you may see, and distinguishing between favorable and unfavorable terms within that contract. Okay, next, let's talk about HCM. So improved resignation functionality. Employees can resign via the resignation UI, even if an involuntary termination is scheduled. The system adjusts the termination date and type from involuntary to voluntary, enhancing the employee experience and the professional records. Now, this feature is only enabled, can only be enabled or disabled for future involuntary terminations in Redwood. Otherwise, it's enabled by default in a responsive UI. So it's only in Redwood. Talent management, all-in-one evaluations. So you can now, again, AI, here we come. You can use AI to assist you with the features in the all-in-one evaluation. This includes the ability to generate AI assistance, goal evaluation comments from the existing goal data, and notes for performance and development goals using the same functionality available on the individual performance document. This enhancement enables managers to streamline that whole all-in-one evaluation process. A big win, I think, for that. Under general usability and AI enhancements, we've got overall, really, Oracle just continues to improve the Redwood UI, including in this release, rich text editors and simplified input widgets. So, for example, using a list of values that replaces radio buttons. And this then reduces configuration errors.
And to all of those things, I may add also something. Sorry, Karina, put you on mute quickly because I think there's some echo otherwise. I hope this works. But, some of the key considerations when rolling out the latest HCM functions and all this AI functionalities also, what does the AI have access to? So, for example, right, in an HR AI bot internal, you may have employees asking what's the manager level 4's average salary, or what's a graduate's average salary, or they may have access to information you don't want everyone have access to. So I think as organizations adopt those latest functions and features, it's always to ask really business critical decisions as well. How are we going to use it? What are the protocols? What data do we want to kind of keep confidential versus what data will the tool use to make life and work easier? For example, writing objectives or giving feedback, or some of those kind of items. But the use of how we're using these tools will become a more prominent conversation as the tools become smarter.
Absolutely. Okay. Thanks, Anita. The next one was OTBI reporting, additional attributes, so enhanced transactional business intelligent capabilities are being added. For example, in the talent management workforce profiles in 25B, they now allow you to report on licenses that require third-party verification, which empowers HR to evaluate compliance and risk and reduce risk of fines. Okay. The last thing here, AI assist and AI agent enhancements. For example, in learning administrators can now use the learning description enrichment AI agent to generate summaries and descriptions for multiple learning items at a time. And in compensation, AI assists is available for individual compensation instructions. And I mentioned previously the all-in-one evaluations. These are all, AI generated enhancements, just like Anita was talking about. On the next slide, I actually do have a few examples up here. So first one is the all-in-one evaluations. Here you can see the AI assist for the evaluation comments that are now available. The other one, the learning description enrichment, that's the one on the bottom left. That agent generates the summaries and descriptions for multiple learning items. And then the other one on the right is the individual compensation plan that AI assists to generate the instructions that you can see here, the different plan options, any date rules, things that you need to consider there. Okay. Again, these are what I've gone over is very high level information. We will share the presentation. Please ask any questions in the chat. And we've got Dorothy's on the call, who is our expert in HCM. Kevin's in the room here, who can answer questions on sales and service. And then I also have just a reminder, I think most people would know this, there is the new release documentation out there on Oracle's website. Okay. Cool. Next thing I just thought I would touch on with all of these great things that you're getting in the releases, what are the upgrade best management practices? So I'll just quickly kind of go through that to refresh everybody's memory. Before a quarterly update, you're going to need to prepare for it, obviously. And this is just a kind of a checklist of the different things that you need to do before the update, during the update, and afterwards. You'll need to look at your environments, make sure that they are in sync. Look at any custom reports. And then I'll walk through a little bit more in detail here. So identify the calendar dates for that quarterly update. I think, before the update, you'll need to synchronize those environments and look at the sandbox use your counsel to make sure that you're up to date on the schedule so that you know when it's going to happen. If you have any questions, do reach out to ourselves, to Oracle, on any of those releases. You'll also need to stop modifying anything within the sandboxes, within testing, so that that doesn't get missed when you move over. And right before, you'll suspend all processes. That means any reporting, any integration, any workflows, things like that. You'll want to make sure that those are all turned off so that you can go ahead and move in the release. So ensuring that you know when you receive all of those updates is important. So 2 weeks, well, in the first week of the month, you'll get your non-production environment up to date. And then 2 weeks later, at the end of week 3, your production environment would be updated. So most implementations are updated on the Friday of the first week of the month, so of the quarter. And that's for your testing and stage environment. And then on the 3rd Friday of the month would be for your production. Okay. And it's important that during that time in between those 2 updates that you're performing any tests and ensuring that your environments are working, any business critical processes, your custom reports, things like that, that they're all working properly and haven't been impacted by that release. And then go on. And it's important that during that time in between those 2 updates. And then go ahead and after the update, you'll want to go ahead and do all of that testing, which Rajesh is going to talk a bit more about. Okay.
Sorry, I might just add to that as well. I mean, that's exactly the point, right? Because the updates are happening quarterly. The key thing is how can you minimize as a business that quarterly update testing and move away from manual, testing all your kind of key user journeys and whatnot, making sure everything works with the latest upgrade. How can you automate those things and free up those resources for more, high quality tasks? So we look forward to hearing more about that.
Yes. And Rajesh will touch on that in just 1 minute. I wanted to also, remind people to, you bought this product and you want to make sure that it's performing the best that it can for you. So it's important to monitor your environment, make sure that you're looking at key metrics and staying on top of your usage. Look at your connectivity, data integration, security reporting and dashboards, so that you know what state you're in before and after. And if you've got any big releases or implementations that you're doing, you have something to compare that to. And what we suggest is to, really do this on a quarterly basis, either, with us, within your team, so that you can, so that you're really seeing, what you've purchased, the advantages that you're seeing that you're getting in the enhancements, and can benchmark, those metrics that you've got business critical processes against.
Yeah, and I might just add to that very quickly as well. So we have a customer at the moment who does have performance issues with their system. So that the system there's just latency because everything is cloud-based, and they click on something and it just takes the extra few seconds to respond, and therefore it's a real pain. So the checklist Karina just showed there is identifying the root cause, because it could be multitude of problems, right? It could be your own internet connectivity, it could be your own VPN, it could be over configuration of the system, it could be data loads which happen each day at the same time and the system performance just goes down. So if there's any of those issues, if you experience any of those issues, either work with Oracle support or with a partner who knows what those checkpoints are, so you can actually go through it step by step and erase any root causes for slow system performance.
And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Rajesh, who was going to take over my laptop. And like I said earlier, I have a MacBook, which he's not used to. So bear with us.
Thank you very much, Karina. And we're just going to change gears a little bit. I think Karina's spoken a lot about all the different investments that customers make with ERP, EPM, HCM, and so on. Now, it's very important to safeguard those investments, especially when it comes to your quarterly patches, monthly patches for EPM. So what we have built is an automated way of validating those changes to ensure that your regression issues are not, to pick up those regression issues, and also moving forward, all the new functionality that is getting built in is tested and certified, which is very important. So I'll probably just walk you through some of the concepts. So basically, with Azure, the platform is called AssureQA, where we've got accelerated scripts for EPM, HCM, ERP Cloud, and these are your real life scenarios. So when it comes to ERP Cloud, we have built solutions. We have built transactions like procure to pay, order to cash, in record to report, and those kind of things. When it comes to HCM, very important, like a day in the life of an employee. So creating, hiring an employee, hiring different types of employee, like casuals, permanents, fixed terms, and so on. And also running some of those important, scenarios like absence management, and then performance and talent, and so on. So we've got accelerated scripts to make sure that your implementation is working post go live, which is very important. Now, like Karina was saying, on the first Friday of every quarter, you have a release coming in, and on the third Friday, you're going into production. So you've got 10 days to do any testing. Now, because Oracle is pushing out a lot of functionality and making it really super rich, a lot of customers are really, jumping onto the bandwagon and getting those functionality in. Now, to test all of those manually, and we all know what's happening with businesses with BAU. There's not enough time to do those validation, and that's where, we've got automated tests to come and, alleviate those people from, doing, I guess, non-production tasks, because they're busy doing their BAU activity, and then you have these automated tests. Now, with the advent of AI and machine learning and all of that, we have gone one step further, and we've used agentic bots to basically do those test cases. And now, anyone who's done automated testing would also know that some of these scripts become very flaky. And that's
Is that a technical term?
Well, in the test automation world, they made it very technical.
Yeah.
But the reason why I say flaky is because there might be a smart developer sitting in San Francisco or in India making a change within HCM and ERP Cloud. Now, the way test automation works is they go by locators. Now, like how a manual tester would look at certain objects and say, yep, that's a push button, that's a URL. Now, the automated tools should have certain sort of locators to do that. Now, if the developer changes that locator, like an ID and all of that, test tools will not work, because it'll all fall over, because it goes by certain pattern. Now, what we have done is we've used AI to understand that pattern and then go and make that like smart decisions to go ahead and do the transaction, but then report to the log and say, look, I found a change, but I think it can go ahead, and he's I'm saying he, but the bot has actually gone and done it. But you've got a log saying that, okay, AI, it's done with the help of AI. Now, that's where you have man in the loop coming in and saying, okay, now reviewing those test cases and saying, is that a valid issue? Is it a valid pass? So let it go through. If not, raise an issue with Oracle. So that's where you raise an SR with Oracle and get it fixed, and then rerun these test cases using automated tools. So that's one thing really excites me. That's what I wake up every morning and try and do. And we have done this for multiple customers. Like in Sydney, we've done it for New South Wales Health. In Victoria, we've done it for Department of Jobs, Department of Regions and Precincts. So there are a number of customers actually jumping onto the bandwagon because they don't have the time. Yeah. Every fortnight or every month, in the case of EPM, they just don't have the time to do any sort of so then it just becomes, okay, we'll do best case scenario and then see what happens and deal with it in production. And that's, we all know how critical that is when things start breaking production. So the next slide is actually talking about the different steps that we use and the mechanism and the methodology we use. So step one is onboarding the customer, understanding your test cases. Now, because it's a cloud application, we typically know what customers do in terms of, there's only so much you can do because it's all the best practices are already there. So customers have gone and changed their business processes to fit into the application. Yeah. So we know ahead of time what test cases you might do, but what we may not know is your data. So that's where we come in. We work with the customer, understand your data, and then we bring that into the test case. Yeah. Right. So we onboard the customer. We run a bit of a change management. That's where, taking on from what Karina said, there's a change management document that comes out from Oracle. So we study that and then we incorporate that into the next release. Now the next release is 25B, which is coming out in July, and all of our customers who are signed up with AssureQA going through that to test. And then there are other things which we do, auto health checks. And then most important thing, we review the test cases sitting with the customer and get that signed off. Because we don't want to be taking that call. We want the customer to look at all these test cases because it's an automated way and we're running this typically on a weekend or after hours. We want the customer to review those test cases and sign that off, which is a very important step in the methodology. So it's not just putting in processes and tools, but we also have to have a very stringent methodology to make sure that your investments in any Oracle technology is not going waste. Yeah. So I'll just move on to the next screen. So some of the platform features which I'll quickly highlight. As you can see, it's a very the test case that you see on the screen there. It's basically very English conversation-like. So it says, click into a user ID, set a user ID and a password, click on sign in. So as you can see, there's not a lot of code in there. But back in the days, there used to be a lot of Java code or C code hanging around. But these days, things have gone so far ahead that even a non-techie user can use it. But of course, there has to be a little bit of there will be a little bit of a learning curve with any platform. So as you can see, this the platform goes through very English conversation-like test cases, and yeah, so it's easy to read. And the other thing is also we've come up with a new feature called TestGenix, which basically it's a prompt engineered test case development. So earlier we used to have to record every test case, and it goes to exactly mimics what a human tester would do. But now using prompt engineering, a brilliant thing is that you can write English, like say log into here, put in this user ID and password, click on new hires and things. It automatically goes and generates a test case for you. And the beauty of that is it also has learned that applicant so much that it'll actually predict what the next test case is. So we built all those features into AssureQA, and I'll show you that in a minute.
I'm just going to jump in. There's a question online. Do these changes also reflect the Redwood changes?
Absolutely. Very good question. In fact, we have just moved some of our customers from a classic Oracle UI to a Redwood, and that there was a significant piece of work because Redwood, yes, there is functional changes, but also there's a lot of screen changes on screen. And I say that's a very good question because any changes, any color changes, any pixel changes, any changes on the screen, the automation tool doesn't like. That's why I initially said it could be a flaky test case, and that's where AI comes in to the rescue. And then AI comes in and starts, auto healing. We call it script auto healing because it heals the script, for want of a better word. So yeah, that's a very good question. Thank you for asking. And again, these are very important concepts within automation. Like I was saying, like a manual tester would basically look at an object and it would he or she would identify that it's a push button or a URL. But the way automation tools identifies a particular object on the screen is by going through the locators. So exactly where the locator is and what the locator. So we know exactly what each of those properties are. Sorry if I'm going a bit technical, but it's important to understand the methodology test automation tools we use. And we also have other things like at the bottom, we can see, screenshots. So we can take screenshots as we go, which is very important, especially if you're getting audited, like an internal or external audit, to make sure that, yes, you've gone through the due diligence to make sure that you validated and you certified. So we can take screenshots as we go along. We have visual testing as well. So if there are reasons for a business to compare screens pixel to pixel, we can do that. Now, a human may make a mistake saying, okay, that's a light green there with a dark green. He or she might pass it, but the tools will not, because even if there's a slight change, it's going to report it. And this may or may not be important for certain customers, but for other customers, it might be because you might have, I don't know, maybe a visually impaired person or something in the business where you really want to bring these, real test cases out. So we've got that option. But if you ask me, are these used by every customer? No, not really. But we have that option in there, so you can just turn it on and then it would do it. And then we got other thing called shadow root. Now there might be certain objects which are really hidden behind the scenes, and you can't find that. And then we've used AI to basically bring that out and make sure we test it. So I just thought it's important to bring these concepts in, because when it comes to automation testing, a lot of people say that, okay, it's very easy to automate, but what happens behind the scenes is important for people to know that why sometimes scripts fail. It could be a false pass, that kind of thing. So it's important to understand the concept. Now we've got other things like we can use test flows. So you basically use individual test cases, like creating an invoice, creating a supplier, creating a organization in case of a HR, and then you bring all these together in flows. So like I mentioned earlier, you got procure to pay. So you got creating a purchase order, you got reviewing the purchase order, approving the purchase order by a manager. So all that you would stick together in a flow, and that's what you're seeing on the screen. And because these are run in a very autonomous way, like on a weekend or after hours, we need to give it certain conditions, parameters. Like if this test case pass, go on to the next test case. But if it does fail, you need to have an alternate route for it to go and do whatever it has to do, because you don't want to come back on a Monday morning and find out that, okay, only 20% of test cases ran because there was a network failure or something. You want at least 90% of the test cases done, so that, okay, you can deal with the 10%. Yeah. But you don't want to be in that 80-20 where you want to deal with 80% and then 20% is only done. So we've got certain measures in place to cater for all of that scenarios. Just, are we going on time? Cool. Yeah, good. I'll just rush a little bit. But that's with the actual presentation. But now I just want to show you.
You want to go into the demo?
Into the demo, Karina, if you can just help me.
Yeah.
So while that's happening, people out there, if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to take some questions. But here we are actually going to do a real live demo of the application.
Well, while you're getting ready, I do have a question. So once this automated testing is set up, I'm assuming you can run the test case as often as you want, right? So there's no limitations.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
In fact, we run it a couple of times, Anita, before the quarterly run, just to make sure that we've got everything covered. If you can just quickly go into your
let me
chat.
Let me try to put this up here on the screen so that everybody here can see it as well.
Sure.
And then do you wanted, here's the notepad.
The notepad.
Is that what you wanted?
Oh, no, if you could just go to the Teams. Yeah. Sorry, guys out there, just have to get everything sorted, especially when it's a live demo. Just want to make sure we've got everything covered. Okay. Just want to confirm people can see on the screen. That's the, thanks Anita. So that's the Azure QA application. So it's basically sitting on the cloud. So we got this on a couple of cloud versions. We got this on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure OCI, and we got this on AWS as well. Now, different customers use it in different infrastructure, so we got that covered. Now, on the left here, you have the dashboard where it's a landing page of all your test assets. Now, it will tell you how many test cases you've got, how many ran, how many failed. So this is a very good, I guess, representation of how your test cases ran in the last, X number of runs. And it'll tell you, what test cases are in execution mode and so on. So this is purely from a exec management perspective to understand what the overall look is like from a testing standpoint. Now this is where the actual studio happens. All the test cases are built in here. As you can see, we've got payables invoice creation for multiple suppliers, payables invoice creation for a single ERP login and logout. So we got hundreds of test cases, and typically for an ERP application, you're looking at roughly about 250 to 300 test cases to be run every fortnight. Now imagine if that were to be run by manual testers, it'll take at least 3 or 4 testers, probably 4 or 5 days to get that done. So you lost that 4 or 5 days worth of window of opportunity to raise defects and get that fixed. Now, if we had a bot to do it, is done, say we run this typically on a weekend, on a Saturday and a Sunday. By the time you come on a Monday, all testing is done. And by Tuesday, we produce a report to the customer saying, look, out of 250 test cases, you had, about 95% pass, and the 5% failed because X happened. Yeah. And then we have also connected this to, ticketing systems like Jira and ServiceNow, so that we can straight away raise a defect, assign it to Oracle, get that sorted.
Yeah, that's key in that 10 days.
Absolutely.
To be able to run it over the weekend,
Correct.
Find those defects, get those answers.
Correct. Sorry, I'm sure people looking at my inability to use an Apple Mac. Yeah, that's all right. But like I was saying, test case looks very, very conversational-like. So I'll just click on one of those. So the test case looks like this. It says click on this, scroll to task, click on that user push button, click on business unit. So it looks very conversation-like. So anyone, a non-technical person, can also read and interpret these test cases, which is great. Because back in the days, you had to have a technical person to come in and do it, like someone who is well equipped in things like Java and C and C# and all that. So now all that days are gone, where now it's all keyword driven kind of or data driven kind of thing. And like I was saying, we got a test flow. So test flow is basically where we group test cases together. So link test cases like procure to pay, order to cash, and things like that. And here we can also make it like conditional to make sure that, okay, if there's a failure, you got to do this. If there's a pass, you do this, and so on. Now I'll show a test case creation, which is one of the new things that we've brought into the tool. Sorry.
Yeah, just click once, click hard.
Click hard. Yep, record with AI. Now, this is a new feature which we released in the last 6 months called TestGenix. Now, TestGenix is basically a prompt-based test generation functionality, which is great because, like I was saying, early in the days, we had to write all this by hand or we had to record it. But now, using prompt, given the right prompt, it will go and generate these test cases for you. So I'll just put that in action. So I've got some pre-built test like prompts in here just to save us some time. And playing with the screen here. So that's Control C, Corina.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Just on the top.
I just wanted this. Sorry.
That's okay.
I just wanted this copied.
Yeah.
So the right click.
Well, to right click, you gotta. No. Here, let me.
Sorry.
Yeah, you should just.
In fact, Corina, you can do that.
Yeah.
And show how
Okay.
easy it is. So Control C,
Copy.
and then if you go back to the
Up here?
and then you can
Paste it here.
paste it here, please. Yeah. So there you go. Corina has become my automation test assistant. Very good looking
There we
assistant. Yeah. If you click on
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what it's doing there, folks, is basically it's going to bring up that Oracle live environment. So we've got a demo environment. So it'll bring that up in a minute. So as you can see on the left there, you got the chat window, which is basically like how we would chat with ChatGPT. So it basically goes and generates a page in Oracle. Now, Corina, if you wouldn't mind, if you can just Corina, so you're not.
So what do you want me to do?
You've never done test automation before?
I've never done test
Perfect.
automation.
And that's
Okay.
exactly, and this is great because Corina has become a test automation engineer in the last 5 minutes.
Awesome.
So if you can just copy that step 1 through to 7.
Okay.
So folks, what Corina is doing there is basically having a prompt which we have already pre-built. Yep, if you can just
Put
paste
it
it
here?
down there. Yep. Paste. So this basically what Corina has done there is she's trying to create a receivables a transaction. So in English, Corina has gone and put in things like go to this login page, click on the URL, put in the password, click on procurement. So she's done very pure conversation like English. And then on the right here, as you can see, it's actually doing it while we speak, and it's generating the test case as it goes along. So it's got a password thing here. Yep. So basically, it's just following those instructions on the left, and on the right there, it's going and doing it.
It's checking everything.
Exactly.
Right?
So where you see all the little green highlight and the red and the pink and all of that, it's basically going and checking, like how a manual tester would do visually. It's actually going and doing it based on the locators, and that's why I said it's very important to explain the underlying technology that happens. So it's going pixel by pixel, ID by ID, title by title, and it's going and checking all of that while we sit here and have a sandwich.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it'll basically go and do that. It'll take about, I think, a couple of minutes to do it. But the beauty of that, earlier in the days, we had to record all of this, step by step. And even before that, a generation before that, we had to hand code all of this. Now we've come like 3-4 generations ahead in test automation, that it's all done by AIs and things like that. But if you ask me, does that mean that you don't need people to do it? No, you need people to actually come. We call it man in the loop, to basically come into the loop and do some reviews and because like Corina was saying, these generate a lot of information, but you need someone with cognitive skills to go and look at it and say, yes, I approve this, I sign it off. So the process is still there. The methodology still exists, but it's supported or complemented by agentic robots. So it's going to do all of that. I'm just going to leave that running for a while and take any questions. And just look at the time. Yeah, I think we've got another 5 minutes. But yeah, so it's just going to go and do that. And there's some of the other feature that we also have, like I mentioned in the start, like flaky test cases. Now we have a way to handle that where we say you do self-healing. Now it goes and heals those test scripts to make sure that it goes from start to finish. And in some cases, it has to fail because if it goes beyond a certain threshold, then it has to fail.
Right.
Because that's the whole idea. Like you're doing testing to make sure that you're uncovering some of those sticky defects, and which you don't want anyone to pass, whether it's a manual or an automated way. So we've handled that. So it's just asking that little question in procurement. I think Lisa, you're in procurement, I heard. So this is down your alleyway actually. So it's basically going and doing a self-service procurement. And in procurement, as you would have role-based procurement, you would have a buyer, you would have an approver. So what this does is basically logs in as a buyer, does the buying like a purchase requisition, and then a notification would go to the manager to go and approve or reject it. And we do that exactly that. We call it RBAC testing, where we do role-based access testing.
Okay.
So most of your scenarios are covered. Now, what's probably not covered is some of those really sticky integrations where you have, you've got something coming in from sales, ServiceNow, and then you got some action happening in HCM, and then you push it out to Salesforce. So some of those maybe you might decide not to automate, but stock standard functionality, procure to pay, order to cash, your day in the life of employees, EPM monthly, all that you can automate. So that's great. Yeah. So
we have a couple of audience questions, a couple from Shares in Perth. So the first one is this RPA?
No, it's not. It looks like RPA. I guess the concept is the same, but it's not RPA. It's in RPA, it does in production, it does business transactions, but we don't touch production. And that's rule number one, golden rule. As a tester, you'll never get access to production, let alone we only do in testing, which is system integration testing, system testing, and probably user acceptance testing to a certain degree. But again, user acceptance testing, people want to have the touch and feel and sign off. But we generally do it in the ST and SIT, which is system testing and SIT. Yeah. And
then we have a second audience question again from Shares. Does someone has to first perform all these test steps, or it looks like a prompt provided and then does all the steps in the prompt? So what's the logic? I guess the question is of building up the test script.
Oh, that's a great question. So there's a phase where we go through like a project mode where we do a planning of the test cases. We create these test cases then. And once it's all created and you've got your baseline test cases, about 200, 300 odd test cases, then it's signed off. Then it keeps running quarter on quarter. So there's a phase.
Build all of that first.
That's correct.
Yep. And how long does that typically take?
It depends. Like, I mean, we've got accelerators in there which we can reuse from customer A to customer B. But again, it might take probably a month, couple of months, depending on how many test cases you have.
Yeah.
But between customer A to customer B, there might be deltas that we need to factor in. Like I said in the start, like, customer A and customer B, exactly same scenarios, but different data sets. You might have different scenarios that you want to factor in. Mm-hmm. So there you go. Okay. So there's a bit of a project lead time before you can actually, start running these test cases and getting the ROI. Yeah. But I would say, from my experience, from the second and third runs, you start to realize your ROI, which is very important.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and people are so, have so much to do in BAU that to get sidetracked on something takes away from BAU or other development that you're trying to do.
Cool. So I think this testing is done, and we just left it another 3 minutes. But I think, and I would like to hand it over back to Anita in a minute. But I just want to show what a test case report looks like. So Lisa in the room. So these are the screenshots. It actually captures as it goes along, which is great because you can use this for all your audit purposes. It captures every screen if you tell it to capture. But if you say, no, I don't want certain screens, you can do that as well.
Where's that stored?
It's all stored in the cloud, in the database.
So it's always accessible.
It's always accessible. Yeah. And you can archive these, a month on month. But if you want to, but generally people don't delete this. They just leave it there because you might want to go and check what happened about 4 months ago. You can do that.
Correct. Right.
And the other thing that I wanted to show before I sign off is also that we've got a trend as well. We show that which test cases, as you can see in the history. So all the greens are good, red's not good, and amber is not too bad. So in this, what it's saying is my last 3 runs were a pass, which is great. So you can actually track your regression. Whereas in here, you can say your last run was a red, which means my last I had a failure, but my following run was a pass. So this is something that you can go back to Oracle and say, look, this is where the problem is, the regression.
Yeah.
That's it. I think with that, I'm short of time, but I wish I had more time, but I'll hand it back to Corina or Anita. But if you have any questions, please do reach out, and more than happy to come back to you.
Yeah. And thank you. And also, thank you very much, Rajesh. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming into the office today with us.
No worries.
And Kevin has stepped out of the room, but we also have Dorothy on the call. Any of your consultants that you're currently working with, or the Kyte team that you interact with, if you have any questions, any other concerns about the 25B release, and that you want to get into more detail, please reach out to us, and happy to help you.
Awesome work. Great session. Thank you so much to the team in Sydney and Rajesh to be our guest speaker, and stay tuned for more Kyte Perspective events to come out in the near future. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Bye.